We're talking to Tim McDonald, the inventor of Cowboy's Wild Game Washer. You may have heard me talking about him last week on the show. This is something that, when you look at it, you think, well, doggone, that's pretty smart. Let's start with kind of how this came about. Where did the idea get born, and then we'll kind of talk about what it is, really.
Yeah, I hunt. I've hunted all my life, and I hunt basically every weekend. And I've cleaned a lot of birds and a lot of game, and I've had this idea for years, and for about 10, 12 years I've had this idea. And then here, I don't know, last October, I was on a bird hunt, and I got to thinking about it while I was cleaning my birds, and I went home and put it all together, and hey, it worked pretty good. And I wasn't thinking much about it. I was just trying to make my job easier.
Sure. And
the next weekend, I went to a very good dear friend of mine's ranch. He does a lot of commercial bird hunting, and he's an older gentleman. He said, I've seen everything, and he watched this thing work. And, we threw all the birds in it. And he said, you better go do something with that. He said, because there's going to be one of those in every sporting goods stores across the country. Either you're going to put it there or somebody else is. So started the patent process, and then started trying to figure out how to manufacture them. And, I've got them in several stores now. They're now in Carter's countries. They're in some of the Buc-ee stores. It was invented for bird hunting, but I will tell you that, the fishermen don't forget about it, because I gave them to the guys down at, some of y'all know the guys down at Bay Flats.
Sure.
And those guys down there, I talked to them last week, see if they're still using them, because they've had them for a couple of months. And they said, yeah, they use them every day. They're hooked up permanently on their docks.
Nice.
But they're running all their fish through them. So they need to go to my website at gamewasher.com and watch the videos. But the best thing it'll do is, thing that was really invented for is birds. You take that bird, that dove, and you breast it out, quail, throw it in that bucket, and within a matter of just, depending on how many you put in there, in 3 or 4 minutes, all the debris floats up over the top. Once you breast that bird out and put it in that bucket, the next thing you do is put it in the bag to put it in the freezer.
Explain, Tim, what it is that this bucket's doing, because everybody's just looking at a bucket in their head right now.
Standard. I've got a fitting at the bottom of it. You hook it up to a standard water hose, and on the inside I've got a riser. And the patented part is the way the slits are cut in the riser, and it starts it just starts rotating in there, and that game is just spinning around in there like a washing machine. And every time it comes around, it just gets jet washed and spun around in that bucket. And all the debris floats up over the top. Feathers float, the blood, everything comes up over the top.
Those guys from Georgia, I figured.
Area. Say it again.
Those guys from Georgia, I figured, might have sent you a bucket full of peaches with the fuzz knocked off of them. Would have been pretty good, too. Yeah, I like the idea of knocking the bloodlines out of those fish fillets, too. That's pretty helpful. Kind of a pain.
I don't really know. I mean, it does a lot of things, and every day I'm hearing people telling me they're cleaning other things with it.
Sure.
It's pretty neat to watch it. I will be at all 4 Texas Trophy Hunter shows, the one starting in Houston next weekend. So come on out and see it.
Here's one that you probably haven't heard. I was thinking about this last night when I was kind of going over my show prep for this morning. Deer camp, okay? 6-8 guys been there for 5-6 days. Man, it's getting a little ripe around there. You take you a little cup full of maybe a shot glass full of laundry detergent, and you throw all that sweaty underwear in there and just let it go round and round and round.
I heard that one yesterday.
Did you really? It really would. It would work.
I have actually heard that several times. Guys, they don't have a washing machine at their deer camp. They let it and fill it up about 3/4. Just let it soak.
Yeah, just let it go round and round and round. It'd be a lot better.
Let me tell you the other thing. The other thing is, and I've got this on my website too, you can do it with the birds or the fish, but fill that thing, the bucket, put about 1/3 of ice in it, and then dump your fillets on it or dump your birds on it, and just let it spin in there with that ice, and then everything flow up over the top. It'll cool it down. There's a video also I have where we did a little over 100 quail at one time this past February, and we cleaned them all, dumped all of them in the bucket. We didn't wash any of them, dumped them all in the bucket at one time. We had about a little over half, almost 3/4 the bucket was full of meat. Wow. And we turned it on. While it didn't spin real fast because there was so much product in it, it just moved real slow. And in about 4.5 minutes, the outfitter poured all those birds out, and he could not find a feather in the bucket. And he he told me, he says, this is now a standard product on his hunting vehicle. And he said he hunts about 120 days a year. So
I got so tired of looking at my fingers after a dove hunt, and you got blood all over your fingers. You got little tiny feathers stuck in the blood, and you wipe it on your pants and you wipe it on your shirt, and you just make this big mess. So now you breast the doves out, throw them in a bag, get them home, or as soon as you can get to a garden hose, you just hook the bucket up, drop the meat in there, and it comes out feather-free and blood-free and all that, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, and the guys that's clean them in the field, what I would do is just breast them out. If you clean them in the field, you don't have water, throw them in the bucket. Maybe put a little cup of ice on there. Mm-hmm. Then when you get back, just hook it up to a water hose and let it spin them clean.
Throw it in there just with the ice raw without any kind of a container at all, and then you just don't even have to worry about moving anything when you get back.
Right. Hey, and one other thing, don't forget, it's got a really good swivel spinning seat on it, can use for your dove bucket to sit in the field.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Why did you choose to go ahead and put that big spinner seat on there? For that very reason, I guess?
Yeah, you don't have to have a lid on it, but I thought it looked better with a lid on it. And, that's a pretty big market out there that dove hunting, a lot of people have those dove hunting buckets. And I was just trying to, take part of that market, if you will, and just kind of merge into that market. So it just made sense since it was for dove hunting and bird hunting. It'll wash or clean anything you can put in it, as long as it's not too heavy, as long as it keeps the circulation going. I'll tell you the other thing it'll do that I did a lot this past year is I did stand a front shoulder or a hind shoulder of a deer quarter up in it.
Oh my gosh!
And it doesn't move the meat because it's so big, but the circulation's still going around it, and it scrubs all of the the hair that's stuck to it. I mean, it just knocks it right off. And then you have those front shoulders that are shot up. It'll massage that blood right out of them.
Well,
it works very well on that.
You're onto something with using those ice chunks in there too. You could drop some little crushed ice or some cube ice in there, because back in 100 years ago, when I was bartending, the way we would get the coffee stains off the bottom of a pot would be to drop a handful of crushed ice in there with a little bit of water and then shake it all around real good. And just that little bit of abrasion of those ice cubes will knock all that stuff off. And that'll take off even more. You're on to something really good, Tim McDonald. You'll be out there.
Go to GameWasher.com and look at it.
Will do. GameWasher.com, or go out to the hunting show next weekend back in. It's either 604 or 605 back there by the fish catching tank. Look for Cowboy's Game Washer. Tim, thanks a bunch, man. Good luck over in Lafayette.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.